Let us get into this main event, because a lot of our discussion on the podcast last week and even on the watch party leading up to this main event was that relative to his skill set and how good you and I think he is, it had been a long time since Magomed Ankalaev had his hand raised, even if unbeaten streak remained intact. So he gets Johnny Walker out of there with a huge knockout. It came at 2:42 of round 2, thereby extending his unbeaten streak to 12. And we might just have a new number 1 light heavyweight contender. Kempflo, your thoughts on a huge weekend for the Dagestani Magomed Ankalaev?
Definitely. And first and foremost, I think we do have a number 1 contender at 205 pounds. He certainly proved that. I think what's exciting more than anything else was his approach in that fight against Johnny Walker. When you're coming off a couple losses, or at least not getting a win anyway, right? No contest, getting a loss, whatever it is. Sometimes you see guys take a more conservative approach. I thought that he balanced his aggression extremely well with his strategy against Johnny Walker. I didn't see a guy who was timid. I didn't see a guy who was necessarily playing it safe. I thought he was playing it smart. He was patient, but still brought the aggression, ended up getting the knockout finish, which I thought he should have done against someone like Johnny Walker. And I thought he proved himself as absolutely elite and deserving of that number 1 contender spot. And for Johnny Walker, this was a big drop-off, man. I'm sure we'll get get to talking more about him. But what a result for Ankalaev. And just beautiful stuff. Great knockout.
We'll talk to Ray Longo about his wayward Johnny Walker prediction. But for those who suggested that Magomed Ankalaev was prohibitively favored or did not deserve this distinction as a minus 455 or minus 500 betting favorite, he absolutely did. And with respect to Johnny Walker, I do believe in this particular matchup, were they to fight 9 or 10 times, I think Ankalaev is winning most of those fights. There was a foul in round 1, which was a little bit unfortunate. Thankfully, it didn't become the prevailing narrative in this fight, but a beautiful right hook, pinpoint follow-up uppercut on the ground. Referee could do nothing but stop the fight. So we congratulate Magomed Ankalaev. And Kenny, obviously, when this belt was vacant, late 2022, the fight the promotion put together was Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz. That ended in a draw, and as most of our listenership knows, a month later, it was Glover Teixeira and Jamal Hill for the undisputed UFC light heavyweight title. Jamal Hill won that fight, the Achilles injury and everything else. Alex Pineda is now the champion, and it seems as though the foundation was laid this weekend for a fight, perhaps the headlining act at UFC 300, Alex Pineda in his first light heavyweight title defense against Magomed Ankalaev. Now, Alex Pineda has gone to Instagram and seemingly suggesting that he wants to handle the Jamal Hill business first and then move on to Magomed Ankalaev. I'm just not sure the calendar is going to align. I don't know what Jamal Hill's timeline is, but what are your expectations for how the promotion proceeds without total knowledge of Jamal Hill's health? But what do you think is going to happen right here, right now in this light heavyweight division?
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ankalaev. I think it's Pereira probably buying himself a little bit of time. Pereira is a smart guy, man. When it comes to getting the right fights at the right time, I think he realizes that Jamal Hill, being the former champion, is a much bigger fight from a promotional perspective than, say, a fight against Magomed Ankalaev. You know, a guy who hasn't been around as much. People don't have his name at the tip of their tongues as much. And I think he likes the prospect of going against a guy in Jamal Hill who is really, for all intents and purposes, a striker. I think he likes those odds way better than, say, a guy like Ankalaev who can take him down. Now, I didn't absolutely love what Ankalaev was saying in his talk about wanting a fight against Pereira, just because he was saying, you know, he would pursue that fight on the feet, that he would not be seeking a takedown. And just based on his approach against Blachowicz in the past, I'm a little hesitant. Maybe he's just saying that to try to lure Pereira in to try to get a takedown, but I don't think that's the best approach against someone like Pereira. Can he? Yeah, I think he's got the power to maybe knock out someone like Pereira. Is that the smartest approach? Probably not. So I think for Pereira, he is going to try to pursue that fight against Jamal Hill. A torn Achilles tendon is one of those things that could potentially render a fighter not the same ever again. I do think it's that bad of an injury. And a lot of times it's like what you think you can do, you really can't. Although you're okay to get back to training, you're not going to feel at the very least 100% the way you did before. And, You're talking about staying off of that leg for long periods of time. You're going to add a lot of weight into the equation. So now you got to lose that weight. That weight also bears more weight on the injury itself, which could compound the injury and take it longer to heal. So there's kind of this cyclical thing that happens with Achilles tendons, which could lead to some problems for Jamal Hill. I hope that is not the case. I hope he's on top with his diet and all that stuff, and he's able to transition very quickly. But I don't see him getting back in time before Ankalaev anyway.